my opinion, and I spoke with the mayor about it, was story about creating special law for this subdivision, creating the special bylaw, which I disagree, because I think there is one city, you know, we should have the one law, not everybody from different law for this person. Anyway, that was meeting February. After a few months later, 2 weeks ago, we have another meeting with Mrs. Cecil Arnold, with Terrell, Mr. Terrell and Tracy Butler. And this meeting was positive shock for me. It was 20 minutes meeting, and we just agree on like this, bang, bang, bang. Snow, go, this, no problem, this, no problem, this, no problem. I was state of shock. I said, finally, we make it. Today, this should go to the city council, you know, proposal development today. 3 o'clock, this is Arnold called me that is not going because we have issue. I asked, what kind of issue? I didn't answer the question. I tell you my opinion on this issue. Previous owner speak with foreigner accent, take him 5 years to rezoning this land. Nothing happened, always was issue. Now Cesare also speaking with foreigner accent, take him 2 years and we have issue. Maybe somebody tell me in face what kind of issue we have. We have no issue 2 weeks ago, we have issue 3 hours before city council meeting. That is my answer. I need this answer. What kind of issue? 2 weeks was no issue. Today we have issue. And how many issue we have? Issue. That is only my one concern. I'm not give up with this. I want to do this because this is good for the city. That's my opinion. Good for everybody. Good. We need more people here because we still have one school not closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesare. I just want to say that there are issues and we want them resolved. We want to cooperate with you. We are there on most of the issues. We are there with you on them. We want to cooperate and we have to do it right. That's why we have scheduled a committee of the whole meeting for Friday, a special meeting for Monday to get it, sorry?
No. If I could, Your Worship, staff is going to meet with Cesare on Friday, and we would like to schedule a committee of the whole.
We want to move quickly, sir.
Question?
It has no, this is public input period.
I know.
This has nothing to do with people with accents, and quite frankly, I don't think that is a very...
Was no issue 2 weeks ago. Why this issue come
There were issues
today?
2 weeks ago, and we want to resolve them. And we want you to meet Friday
morning
and get it done.
But I asked for email what kind of issues I can prepare myself.
You will get those issues.
And I need what and I hope there will be no more issue.
Us as well. Us as well.
City council we have issue.
Us as well. We don't want any more issues. That's our goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishes to address council at public input? Very good. Motion, where are we at? Yes, we are. Motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council on the 15th be adopted, moved by Councillor. You want to adopt the minutes? Spear, and seconded by Councillor Balloonie.
I wasn't there. So
Discussion on the minutes. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Just for the gallery, I'd like to explain that we have a councillor on the telephone, and that's how we have a quorum. So everybody knows. A motion that the minutes of the special meeting of council held the 27th be adopted, moved by Spear and seconded by Balloonie. Discussion on those. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unfinished business. Natural playground for RSS primary students. Staff recommendation that council approve city staff to provide a feasibility report on the installation of a natural playground for the area of Jubilee Park closest to the school. Is there a mover to that?
So moved.
Moved by Spear and seconded by?
I'll second it.
Moore. Thank you. Discussion?
Unfortunately, I did miss the presentation, but I have looked at the slides from the presentation that the group brought to council last council meeting. You know, I think the concept is wonderful. It's, you know, growing more and more popular to have kids playing on natural apparatus. I know, you know, we just put in a big new playground at RSS, but unfortunately that doesn't really address the needs of the younger students. One part of me says, bah humbug, let the school board pay for it, and why should we be delving into their business, as we've been told at this council table many times that is that our mandate on certain things to do with education. And so I'm in favor of it because I think that the project makes good sense, and if we could get a report that would at least inform council more around the feasibility of that. I don't want it to imply that staff has to spend a lot of time, and do we have numbers on that? That was my question. Do we have any numbers on how staff time would be allocated, or how much time, or how in-depth it needs to be? That's my question, and I was away last meeting, so.
I don't think we got to that point, but perhaps Ms. Arnott, do you have any idea what staff figures it'll take time-wise to develop, or Ms. Butler, or Mr. Albo, since he's right there?
Your worship, it would be between Darren and I to get this report forward. I'm thinking it's probably going to take about 4 hours worth of staff time.
Oh.
Darren?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Is that your question?
Yes, that's my question.
I couldn't hear Tracy's answer.
4 hours,
4?
yes. Okay, you seconded it, you, have any comments?
I have a couple comments. You know, I was looking at the report, and it said the staff feasibility report, and then option 2 is we might postpone so we could talk to School District 20. But I'm thinking part of the feasibility report would include talking to SD20, Municipal Insurance Association, the parent group proposing the concept. So would that all be part of the feasibility report?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's feasibility, I would.
Well, it would probably mean more staff time if we were to
Definitely
change
would
it.
be
Right now, what staff is recommending does not include that. So if we were to include that, I mean, that certainly could be done, but it would mean more time. If I could clarify, Your Worship.
I couldn't hear what the deal said. I'm getting every other syllable.
If we were to, how can I paraphrase that? If we were to do the consultation with the school board, it would require way more staff time. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that, but I don't know how much, I mean, we're talking about just gathering, talking to them about it, right? You don't have to do a major consultation with them, but just to, you know, sort of get their input. I'm thinking, if we're doing a feasibility report, it doesn't make it, we won't have a very thorough feasibility report if we don't talk to SD20, and if we don't talk to the municipal insurance, you know, and those things. So it seems like to do a feasibility report, I mean, to make it be a valid feasibility report, we need that information.
So then I would take it that you would vote against this motion.
Well, no, because I'm saying that, I mean, I just needed more information. If you're saying the feasibility report that's anticipated here is that, no, we're not gonna talk to anybody else, we're just gonna, I mean, what is gonna be included in here?
Well, I'll just go straight to Darren. Darren, you wanna answer that? Or can you, or you wanna go to Tracy?
Well, I mean, from my part, it's gonna be the grounds, whether the grounds can handle, because it's very wet down that end. I mean, so there's gonna be some investigation on whether the water table is too high there, as we encountered with the other play module. Whether it's gonna be a snow issue. We're waiting from SD20 on their playground in the old parking lot to see if that is going to come forward, and if so, then how's that gonna play, you know, in the area? So there's a whole bunch of unknowns that have gotta be answered.
Whether School District 20 gives us any answers or not, we need answers ourselves as to the location and...
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay, any further?
no.
No, I looked at, sorry, Councillor Blooming.
My biggest concern, I guess, was, how much time or how much money was this feasibility report going to cost? Not because I'm worried about that cost, I knew it was gonna be low, but just to, you know, actually decide on a motion, I felt I needed to know that. And, I think regardless if it's, 4 hours or 8 hours, because we do talk to the school district, I mean, it's, I'm not worried about this. I think staff knows what a feasibility report would need to, entail, so let's just let them do it.
Right, and it may not even be feasible once, right? Rather than talking to the school board first, we know that if it's feasible for us, first of all. Okay? Anything further on that? I'm gonna call the question.
Mhm.
On the motion, all in favor? 3 in favor, Councillor Moore? Or 2 in favor, sorry? You're in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you very much, motion is carried.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to offer another little motion if I could, that council direct staff to work with the parent group, to approve a small pilot project, something really small, and staff could, you know, decide where they would do that. Just like what they were talking about, the little mulch paths and low logs or something, which is just so the kids would have something to go back to school with.
I think that may be, sorry, Councillor, but I think that may be appropriate once we get the fact, or the study, or the little report that says whether the whole thing's feasible or not. First of all, I think that's the first step. So if we get that, then I think your motion may be in order.
Yeah, although then my motion would probably be something bigger than just a small pilot project. It'd probably be like,
Well-
you know, a bigger deal. I guess I'm just thinking so that maybe we'd have something, so that when the kids go back to school, you know, in a couple of weeks, there might be something there for the little guys to play on.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, but I don't think that you really would want to put it in a swamp or a place that's unsafe. So I think we should wait, if you don't mind, for the staff report on the siting and, whether it's appropriate there or not. I think that's the first step.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll just, I mean, I guess my motion just dies then. Nobody seconded it.
Well,
You didn't ask if anybody seconded it.
No, but I think, with all due respect, Councillor, we have to find out if
That's
it's
okay.
feasible
That's
to do
okay.
that, first of all.
Hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time, it's okay.
Huh.
Keep going.
Don't need a hard time for the
Give
boss.
me a hard
That's
time,
all.
impossible.
No, I know, you must have missed that.
No, it's good. Thank you. 7B has been removed. 7C, council decision on the zoning amendment, MA1 recreational cabin, sorry.
Your worship, we have, Ilo's leases.
Oh, I missed that one. My apologies.
Wait, did we remove 7A?
No,
No, okay.
no, I missed it. Okay, a motion, a staff recommendation that council direct staff to renew the lease with Ilo's Play School for an additional year at the rate of $350 per month. Is there a mover to that?
So moved.
Moved by Council Spearn, seconded by Council Blumey. Discussion, Council Spearn.
Okay, well, just, a couple of general comments. Firstly, ILO's provided an amazing service to our community for many, many years. And, so I certainly like to see that service continue, whether it's lovely ILO in there or not, because I know she is coming to the end of her career. So I think that if we can continue and have that continuity for the play school at the Miners Hall, that would be a good thing. I mean, we've had discussions in years gone by about sort of all the safety issues around those kids in the basement and all that stuff. Ideally, the play school should be somewhere closer to the actual schools or near the schools or whatever, ideally. However, I am in favor of this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Blumey.
Nothing.
Thank you. Councillor Moore. You have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I thought Councilor Blumey seconded. Did she have nothing?
No, she had nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, yeah, I'm in favor of the one-year thing. I do have a couple of questions, though, and maybe this would come out in the social planning work, but I'm just curious, like, what the market rate would be for rental of this space. And I had other questions about, like, what the other private daycares pay for rent per square foot for their space. I mean, and then what are the fees? I don't know that we know the fees that ILO charges, because we are giving this space at a subsidized rate, because the report said that the $350 doesn't cover the cost of utility. So we are doing a public service, which I think is great, right? But I would like to know what the actual cost of heating and lighting the space is. Is that something that staff knows?
Do we have those figures with us right now? I don't think we do. No, we don't have them right now, but I think you're correct, Councillor, that this is certainly something that will come up in social planning, and that's the time that we should have a serious discussion, and I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great to do, but if we're doing that, it needs, if we're subsidizing a private business, then it needs to be because that private business is offering a service to an underserved portion of our community, right? So that they have discount rates for kids that go there to reflect the fact that they're not paying market rate for rental, something like that. But I'm fine with this 1-year extension, because that gives us time to plan it out. The other thing about this, when I looked at their financials that were included in the report, it said that she paid $2,880 for rent this past year. So I'm wondering what that extra was, because if her rate was $300 times 8 months, that's $2,400. So she paid $2,800 already, which is $350 a month, unless there was some extra. Can staff address that?
Ms. Arnott?
It actually says her expense for rental was $2,880.
Mm-hmm.
So what she paid to the city was $2,400. One can only assume that she's renting something else for $480 a year. So what she paid to the city was $2,400. I'm not certain that it's really up to us to figure out, to ask her where she spent another $480 for rent.
Okay, but we know that what we got from her was the $2,400.
Yes, I asked Ms. Butler that today and she verified it.
Okay, all right, I was just confused about that little discrepancy. And then the other thing, in the report, it says that the city owns most of the play equipment, but that's not noted in her contract. So I'm just wondering how's that handled? Is there a separate addendum somewhere that says what we own versus what she owns?
Can you speak to that?
I don't know, Ms. Butler, can you speak to that?
Your worship, through to council, not that I'm aware of, I've never seen anything, but when we talk about play equipment down there, we're not talking about much. We're talking about a sand table and maybe a couple of benches and some low tables, but we don't have any play modules to speak of down there.
Okay, well, it's not like, she's talking about maybe she's gonna retire and pass it on to somebody else, and I'm just thinking if whatever we do, whatever the city says on, there just should be a list, and it should be attached to the contract. Other than that, that's my only comment, and I'm in favor.
Okay, but of course that is city property. Councillor Blooming?
Okay, so all these numbers that Councillor Moore is talking about, and in particular the rent, and they are definitely ones that I'm concerned about, and hashing it through the details. And if you remember the conversations about Golden Bear, is they're very important to me. But we are weeks away from hashing through this in incredible detail and in planning and all that, and I just we don't have this information specifically in front of us right now, and so let's just go in with an actual plan and vision to the future instead of just hacking away at just a 1-year lease. And if memory serves me correctly, the prices here, the numbers involved here, they are in line with what we're charging with the other similar location at Golden Bear, and so in that sense it's competitive relatively, and let's deal with this in a couple of weeks.
Right on. So the motion is that we renew the lease for 1 year, okay? Call the question on that.
The only one comment on that, the only thing I'd say about Golden Bear is also subsidized by the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm saying we need to look at the other daycares in town that aren't in city property, that aren't on city property. That's it, but that's part of the social planning thing, so I'm good to go with that.
Thank you very much.
They compare to each other for sure, but they don't compare to daycares elsewhere in the community.
Okay. Anything further? I'm going to call the question here. It's pretty simple. On the motion to renew the lease for 1 year, all in favor? 1, 2, Councillor Moore?
Yep.
Motion's carried. Recreational Cabinet Manager of Planning and Development Services. His recommendation is that council does not advance the application for a zoning amendment to the property. And you can read it there, legally identified as District Lot 640, Kootenai Land District 17-12-937. Is there a mover to that? And if not, is there another recommendation from council? Does anyone
Somebody
move?
move that?
No.
I'll move it.
Moved by Moore. Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Spearn. Discussion, Moore. Sorry, Councilor Moore.
Okay, so my first question was, I'm just curious, and I don't know, is our planner there tonight?
Yep. Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm just curious why the proponent isn't just addressing his own lot rather than the whole zone. Was there a reason for that? I know his email said he didn't want to, but he didn't say why.
Your worship, through you to council, the proponent has since clarified that he's interested on his lot, at least in one of the correspondence I had. We had I think a bit of a mix-up in terms of what the MA1 zone was, and for this report we focused on that one lot rather than the whole zone, which is emphasized in the report.
So it is for the one lot.
Yes.
Oh, it is, okay, okay, all right, I misunderstood that, I thought it was for the whole thing. Okay, you know what, I'm not really against the odd cabin here and there, but it's not supported in the SCP, and I think the planner brought up a lot of issues that could come about farther down the way. It's kind of a slippery slope, and I think when you look at these things, we just shouldn't go there. So that's why I'm supporting this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Spearn.
Well, it's a quandary. I mean, sort of that whole romantic notion of cabins in the woods on Red Mountain. We've talked about this in the past. I mean, this is not the first time that this cabin agenda has come to us. So, I like the concept of cabins on the mountain, but I don't like the fact that there are so many things, whether it be roads or sanitary systems or whatever, that need to be remedied in order for one to construct a cabin out there. So the cabins that are there are historical. As far as I know, I mean, I've been to a number of those cabins on Granite Mountain, and, they're history. But to start building new cabins on the mountain, I guess I just see so much development that is open wide for opportunity in our community, whether it's Caldera or Redstone or whatever other developments, Iron Coal, Cook Avenue to be, all of them. And so, it doesn't conform in my mind. So as a person responsible for the community, I really don't see how I can vote in favor for that unless our planner tells us or demonstrates through conversation with the applicant that it's feasible. In my mind, from what I'm reading in the report, it is not feasible to build cabins out there.
There's already
one.
Yeah, the availability to build one. So
Yes. So to build one
is no different than to build two, because you have to get the stuff there and all that, right?
And, we went around the block big time on this, even the one cabin thing.
Yeah.
And we had in-depth discussion about it. And we came back to this zoning and said, okay, we'll let them have one. Right? That's what we did. Like, we said no, then we changed it, and we came back and we decided that that would be fine. So one, yes, but two, why? That's all I'm going to say right now.
Councillor Blooming.
I'm not in favor of this. I would vote against the staff recommendation in this situation. I really have a hard time seeing why all of this matters as much as that it is. I mean, I very much understand why staff and why our planner would come about it the way that he has. That makes sense to me, is that, there are rules governed by this, he's doing his job, and I understand that, I get that. It's just us, on council, we're in a position where we can say, okay, let's make an exception. And I really think that this warrants an exception. I mean, the actual footprint of one extra cabin on this lot is rather insignificant, I would say. And it's it's quite a unique parcel. It's a rather isolated parcel. It's, this isn't something, we can't say slippery slope because it's not going to be, there aren't going to be 200 other requests like this coming to us. So I just don't see why. I mean, I also am having a hard time understanding that all of this much of a change needs to occur to allow what the proponent wants. It just seems to me to make logical sense that if, we see what the proponent wants, and then we make an exception of, in order to allow that, and then leave it at that. And so anytime anything like this would come up, then the council of the time would deal with it on a case-by-case basis. And, there really aren't very many chances of that happening at all, because properties like this are few and far between.
Thank you. And I just like to add as well that, we did hash this out pretty long and hard as to a recreational cabin on these properties. And I think the permitted use is spelled out very, very strongly in the bylaw. And if someone were to build a recreational cabin, they have to comply
Mhm.
with the permitted uses. So I don't, you know, somehow, I do understand as well as Councilor Louis said, where the planning is coming from, but to relate this to residential, to me, is a stretch. The cabin experience is one that our area is known for, and certainly, well, I'll speak to Scandinavia again. I just got back, and these cabins are everywhere, and they're on landlocked parcels of land, and they're looked after. So I don't have a problem if council wishes to go ahead with allowing a second recreational cabin on this property. So that's what I'll say to that, and then I will call the question on the motion that council does not advance the application for zoning. Okay? The motion is that council does not advance the application. Sorry, did you want to speak to it again? Or you're reading
No,
it?
I honestly, I almost feel like we should defer it, because we've got a quorum, but we've got half a council plus one. I guess I'm just trying to understand how, you know, okay, one cabin, yes, and two cabins on a huge piece of property like that. I get that. But then the next, maybe there isn't a next, I don't know. I understand the scale of it is really pretty small, as in the cabins on the lot, on the piece of on that parcel, but are we setting ourselves up for future decisions that mean 2 cabins, 3 cabins, 4 cabins, so we only have 2, we'll give them 3, or 4, or 5, or 6.
So
I don't know, I guess it's a philosophy that we either adopt as a council, right, that it's okay to do this, or we stick to the rules. That's all I'm gonna say, because I'm really honestly want to defer it, because I'm not feeling really that comfortable on how I want to vote on this, because you got a huge staff report like that that's contrary to this application, and I like to respect the fact that either the planning department should have had further discussion with Mr. Ham to come to council with a recommendation that's more positive, I guess.
Certainly, if you wish, procedurally, a motion
Yeah.
to defer would take precedence over the main motion.
Yes, it would.
So if you wish to make that, you may.
And timeline through you to...
The next regular council meeting.
Sorry?
You could make it...
To the next council meeting.
You could set the time.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to defer it.
To the next regular...
To the
meeting.
next council meeting.
Okay.
And I might want to hope between now and then that there's some conversation that clarifies for me more reason to approve it.
Okay, let's see if we get a seconder on the motion to
Yeah.
defer. Is there a seconder? No seconder, so
Okay.
we'll deal with the motion. So on the main motion,
So, wait, I'll second it for discussion, okay?
there's no discussion on a motion to defer.
No, there's not.
Oh, sorry, then I won't second it.
Okay, that motion dies. Now back to the main motion, the council does not advance the application. I'll call the question.
Does not.
Does not. Yes, sorry.
I have a question through your worship to staff. What would be, I mean, I definitely understand, the recommendation is this, but what would be technically other options for the proponent to do what he wants to do without going through, an entire zoning amendment?
Mr. Machuro.
Your worship, through you to council, there's no other way. The permitted use on the land is a density question, so when you suggest another structure, you're advancing a density increase per parcel. And the report points out also, and the proponents requested, 10-hectare subdivision potential as well. So there's a couple of elements in there. One's a zoning element, one's a subdivision.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question or the answer.
Yeah, that's important to
Mr.
you.
Machuro said that the proponent wishes to subdivide? Is that what you said?
There's a request in the proposal for a 10-hectare subdivision as well as a second lot on the 20-hectare parcel. And so there's two pieces that are kind of attached. One facilitates the other.
How does that, I have to ask the question because I'm not clear.
Well, the
How does the recreational cabin facilitate a subdivision? I don't understand that.
Technically, you'll introduce, or theoretically, you'll introduce 2 owners to one parcel.
Who would be the owner? I don't get it.
Well, those are hypothetical at this point, but if there's a second cabin and a request for a smaller lot subdivision from 20, right now, we don't allow subdivision in that part of the hill.
Right.
So one of the concerns to Councilor Bloom's question is that the zoning would facilitate another outcome, which is the subdivision, which is part of this request.
The request is, from what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, the request was to amend the zoning to add an additional cabin as a
Yes.
permitted use. Is that correct?
One per 10 hectares.
Yeah, because it says 10 hectares. It's two.
Yeah, density of 1 per 10 hectares. That was part of the request. So the parcel itself is 20 hectares, 2 cabins on one parcel with a request to reduce the density to 10, facilitates the outcome of a subdivision potentially. We'll have 2 owners potentially. And that issue needs to be covered off because that's really, in our mind, a very difficult area to subdivide because there's no road access to that parcel. And subdivision usually does require under land title or some type of road frontage. So we're opening up a box of outcomes that would be very difficult to facilitate if 2 owners were to appear requesting some type of individual ownership rights, particularly when we reduce the density to 10 hectares.
Sorry, but the more we get into this, the more it becomes confusing. We have one owner
Yes.
that is permitted one cabin on whatever
20
the size of the
hectares.
property is. So we have the same owner that wishes to have 2 cabins on his property. That's correct?
Yes.
So I don't know where
But he
subdivision comes in
triggered-
here. We have one owner, he has the property, right? The only question that I see is if council would approve a second cabin on his property.
Well, the request was a density of 1 per 10 hectares rather than 1 per 20 hectares, which is, on this particular property,
Yeah.
it's 20 hectare property, the 1 per 10 would facilitate an outcome of potential subdivision application, no matter who the owners are.
So if the request was 2 for the 20 hectare, then there wouldn't be a notice or a notion of subdivision?
It's depending on ownership and how people want to proceed with ownership later on. If those 2 cabins were to be individually owned, then that would be something you'd have to stitch up. But the way it's been proposed is 1 per 10 hectare.
Councillor Spearn.
Well, if that's the case, I would infer that, the owner owns a 20-acre parcel, wants to get another cabin on there to potentially subdivide his property and sell it with 1 cabin on 10 acres and 1 cabin on the other 10 acres. Hectares, sorry, hectares.
That isn't the proposal.
No, that's not the proposal, but
Yeah.
the planning manager is, to me, saying that if we allow 2 cabins on that 20-hectare parcel, that then it allows the owner to go to another stage of subdivision to have 1 on 10 and 1 on the other. So it's more complex, I think, than what you were just saying about 2 cabins on 1 20-hectare parcel.
But we've already said that we are not going to subdivide that property. So if
But this
you were-
allows them to come
If you were
back.
to come for subdivision of the property, it wouldn't be based on recreational cabins, would it? How could it?
Well,
be?
that's what the manager of planning is saying, I think.
Councillor.
Okay, so, now, okay, where do I start? Right here, in the email from the proponent, it says, simply, I am requesting to have the MA1 zone changed so that I can build a second recreational cabin on my property. So if simply, as stated, that is the only thing requested, is just whatever it takes to have the ability to build a second recreational cabin on the property, why could we not make the exception to just be that? Everything remains the same, all categories remain the same, but we're just making an exception, like a variance of sorts, but I realize that the technicalities are, and the words are probably gonna be different, but, to just allow a second recreational cabin on this property in this instance. And, I just liken it to, in town, we have, with the new zoning and the ability to build guest houses on a lot, for example. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be on, the opposite half portion of that lot, from the main house, right? I mean, I don't see it being much different from that, as in, you have a lot with the main house, and you're allowed to put a guest house on. And so this, in a sense, would be the same. It doesn't have to be, you know, on the other 10 hectares. It just have the allowance to have one recreational cabin on this particular property in this particular instance. Is there a way of making that happen? Through your worship to
Mr. Ventura.
Your worship, through the council, referring to a detached secondary suite, so just so we keep the term straight, 'cause guest house
Thank
doesn't.
you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We didn't allow that.
Yeah, we battled over that a couple of
Mike,
times.
can you speak up, please?
Yep, no, so, to Councilor Bloomy's point, the notion would be basically, can another recreational cabin serve as an accessory building to the principal recreational cabin on the lot? So that would be something we would have one serving the other. Neither, the principal one would be identified, whatever that means, and then we'd have to make a kind of a definition in the bylaw and, in a way, effectively allow two, one as an accessory to the other. And that, in that sense, you could go forward without the risk of subdivision applications later on, which opens up a can of worms, so to speak. And that's kind of what we're steering away from here, is this part of the mountain is an area where subdivision would be quite difficult. There's other complications that are in the report. So you could do one as an accessory to the other. The second would automatically qualify as an accessory cabin to the first, in which case the ownership could be something we don't even know about. The land tenure would remain the same.
Councilor Spear.
That's also possible.
Sorry, I think we're creating terms or definitions in the uses as we sit here. I don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
We're not supposed to be doing that. And as far as an accessory building goes, whatever, you can name it whatever you want. We're talking about two cabins on the mountain. We're not talking about like a principal dwelling in town and then a smaller accessory building for your wood out the back or whatever. So I'd like to not muddy it by doing that, personally. Let's just take the motion and make a decision. How's that?
That's why you get the big bucks. Ms. Arnott?
What I was gonna suggest, your worship, after hearing what the manager of planning has said, is that we might want to come back to council with two options, instead of making assumptions, and could be, should be, and be very, very clear on what these assumptions are, and bring the report back to council. Now, having said that, if we don't advance this zoning amendment, can we come back? Yes. Okay, so, staff could come back with a report that gave an alternative, option 1 and option 2 for council consideration, with the option 2 being the accessory building.
Thank you. I think what we're dealing with here is another recreational cabin on 20 hectares.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it requires another report or whatever. I mean, if this council wishes to allow an accessory building, now you got me going. Another recreational cabin in this situation, then council can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Question?
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, just a sec, Councillor Spearns first.
So, in knowing the ownership much better than I would out there, through your worship to our manager of planning, is there potential in the future for us, councils in the future, to have people come and request similar to this? And if so, how many?
Mr. Machuro.
Your worship, through your council, we have about 10 MA1 parcels right now that have a recreational cabin listed as a permitted use.
Thank you.
It's strictly hypothetical to get into the rest of that. I don't know if this would prompt others to come forward.
But there's 10 other different parcels that potentially could come and ask for the similar thing.
Roughly around the Red Mountain ski area. Roughly.
Yep.
I'd have to make a count of the parcels again, but.
Okay, thank you.
somewhere around that.
Councillor Moore.
Okay, well, I'm really sorry I didn't second the motion to defer, because I'm feeling very uncomfortable.
Let's try it again.
I haven't been able to hear a thing
We'll refer.
that the planner has said. I did hear the Steele's idea, and I have heard Councillor Spearn. I'm really struggling here, and I feel badly about it. The only thing I would say is that from the little bit that I am hearing, to give this second recreational cabin here, I don't see it as one of those things where we're saying, well, we're making an exception based on blah, blah, blah. You know, we're making, it's almost like, well, we should just say the whole MA
Change it.
zone should have 2 cabins, because there's nothing that distinguishes this from any other parcel that, you know, we haven't said, well, it's okay to do it here because of this reason. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
I don't feel comfortable saying we make an exception to our zoning because of this good reason, because we haven't come up with any other good reasons. It's almost like we really should be looking at changing the whole zone, because if somebody else with one of these mountain recreation area lots comes forward, it's like, well, we'll just approve them too, so why do we put everybody through it? I mean, there's no exception that I'm hearing anyway in any of this proposal. And I'm just feeling really uncomfortable with it, because I'm really having a
Okay.
hard
I'll
time
make a
hearing.
motion.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you, Counselor Moore. 1 second, please.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to refer it back to staff.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right. Motion to refer, there's no discussion. On the motion to refer, all in favor? Counselor Moore? You're in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you. That's a lot of talk for the little house on the prairie.
No kidding. A little bit more about the.
Requests arising from correspondence.
Where are
An
we?
email from Ms. Capello and Mr. Foley regarding property tax payment penalty. Perhaps, staff, can you just give us a brief background on this?
Well, I have to apologize, Your Worship, I just got back today and saw this, but I did phone our senior accountant, even though she's retired, and asked her what the changes were from last year, and she assured me that there were no changes, so I have no idea what this person is referring to when they're saying that they were late because the city of Roslyn implemented a change, because there were no changes implemented for property tax collection, as she knows it.
Okay.
So what I'd like to suggest is that staff contact this person and clarify what the change, what it is that they are objecting to.
Well, I think we've had many of these, not many, we've had a few of these requests, and I think council's been very consistent
Mhm.
that we
Saying
deny
no.
the request. So I think
It's denied without, okay.
it's up to council. I think we would notify them that if this motion passes, I think we would notify them, but I think, again,
fun.
you know, it's not just like not paying your car insurance and getting pulled over, right? The bank made a change, well, they don't really work that way. So is there a mover to something, Councillor Spearn or Blumey or mover here?
I've been moving everything, someone else can move it. I'm like a mover.
Move that.
That we deny this request.
Seconder?
What was said?
Motion to deny the request to waive the penalty.
Okay, I'll second it, but I have a comment on it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Blumey. Discussion?
It sounds to me like they're referring to, I mean, you know, the letter isn't very descriptive, I guess, but I'm assuming that their structure seems like it's referring to the online banking
Yeah.
part. And, you know, I mean, if we had said you can do this until midnight, then fair enough, you know, they should be able to do it till midnight or something like that. But if there's been no change on that front since the year before, it's not clear enough that we were at fault in this scenario. It really doesn't look like that at all.
Well, and staff has just said that the board
And-
did make a change.
Yeah.
Councillor Moore.
Okay, I basically agree with what Councillor Blumey said, but I would just I like staff's idea of talking to the people. I mean, if we've passed this now, but they talk to them, and then if there is something that they tell us that you could come back to us and we might reconsider based on new information.
Okay, okay, Councillor Spearn, you want anything to say? Okay, I'll call the question on the motion to deny the request. All in favor? 1, 2 in favor, Councillor Moore?
Yep.
3, motion carried. Letter from the Fall Fair Court Group requesting the use of the arena and public works for the Fall Fair. I believe this is pretty consistent with previous years, is it not, Ms. Cole?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion that we allow the request?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Spearn, seconded by Councillor Moore. I heard it first. Discussion, Councillor Spearn.
Yeah, I guess I just, of course, I'm totally in support of the Roslyn Fall Fair and everything that the city does, around managing everything for that event, Golden City Days. Is cost pretty much consistent? Through you to,
Mr.
Karen?
Elmo,
For the
for, like,
fair?
yeah, is it pretty consistent on
Yeah.
staff costs and it hasn't escalated significantly or
No.
decreased significantly or?
No.
Do you know a number around what it costs us, or we don't really?
You mean the fall fair section of it?
Yeah.
It's just a small portion.
Yeah,
of
the arena,
carnival.
yeah,
Yes.
okay, not a problem, thank you.
Councillor Moore.
Of the Golden City
Yeah, the
Zone.
only thing I'd say, as long as it's within the amount we allocated in the financial plan, I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
And I think it's important that that amount be communicated to the fall fair organizers, so they know there is actually a budget. You know, I'm assuming that you know that, but just so they do. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Blumey, anything to add? No? Okay, I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? Councillor Moore?
Yep.
Motion is carried. Next is a letter to council from Mr. Wolf regarding 1867 4th Avenue alley parking. I would like to get Ms. Butler to speak to this briefly, if you may. I hope I'm not blindsiding you too badly.
No, that's fine, your worship. There's been an ongoing neighborhood dispute in this area about, parking, in proximity of Mr. Wolf's driveway. When people park on his side of the street, it makes it difficult for him to access his driveway.
Mm.
Do we have any, does the staff have any remedy to this, or is this like signage, or are we proposing anything, or are you asking council
Where's the
to
driveway?
make a decision? I mean,
Your worship, we did not experience this level of frustration before Mr. Wolf purchased the property, but since he has purchased it, he has definitely been frustrated by his access issues. We have not had any other operational issues up there.
So, well, I'm not a big fan of signs, you're all aware of that, but I mean, do we demarcate no parking areas in front of the driveway and parking lot, or what do we, or his driveway and his walkway, or is there a measure that we can take?
There's so many areas in town that are, you know, the same issues that are up there. And you're right, we could sign ourselves to death, but all those side streets going off of Spokane, we encounter numerous amounts of complaints of people parking in, you know, unappropriate spots. Usually we can deal with them by talking to neighbors. This one here just seems to keep snowballing, and whether it's just a conflict in between the neighbors. We could post no parking at all in the alley, because if I do post no parking on the side in question, then I believe the neighbors will just park on the other side of the driveway, which would prevent him from being able to back in or pull into his driveway as well.
And we'd get more people up there discussing why we have to put no parking up there when they parked there for 100 years. I think we hear that all the time, don't we?
We do.
I don't know, is it, from what I've read, I guess, Mr. Wolk has spoken to his neighbor and has gotten nowhere. Is it appropriate for the city to send a letter? I don't know what you'd even say, but saying, please be polite, I guess. Ms. Butler.
Your worship, policy of staff not to bring these things to council and try to negotiate them between the two neighbors before we would even make the step to bring it to council. I would say at this time we're at a deadlock.
Well,
I have spoken to the other
okay.
and, you know, just give a couple recommendations. I don't know whether that's been helping her or not in the last couple weeks.
Okay, so I just, because this is on the agenda, I think perhaps then what council may wish to do is wait and see if Mr. Elbo's persuasion works, or is there another remedy? I
got a remedy.
Neighbor disputes.
Yeah, you're my remedy. See that alley? Let him duke it out right up there. No, why, okay, I guess my question is, more seriously, my question is, have all those people that have been parking, and I didn't get up there to look at it, and I usually go and look at this stuff, but I didn't look at it. Is it, and I know exactly where it is has it been a problem in the past, and why are there so many people parking in that alley? Is there no off-street parking for these people, or what is the issue?
There is, because you can see in the picture there, there's
Yeah.
a garage that was
Yeah.
constructed
Yeah,
probably
garages.
8 years ago, I'm not, you know. Unfortunately, there's a lot of places in town, I think garages might get full of toys
Mhm.
and not vehicles, and then, you know, I don't know how many vehicles that the family has, you might have 2 or 3.
Okay, therefore, I would suggest that, another step, a friendly letter from the city, you know, to maybe, you know, the neighborhoods, or particularly the ones with garages, and if they're creating the congestion in the alley, then they need to all work a little bit harder to alleviate that. And I'd say send a little reminder that we prefer off-street parking.
Okay, can I just get maybe a comment from
Yes,
Ms. Butler as to
or
what...
it's hopeless, it's a hopeless situation.
What, we
Your
expect to
worship,
do here.
staff would really prefer council made a decision whether
Okay.
it is parking or no parking.
Okay.
We really have tried to negotiate with the neighbors, to the nth degree, to come up with a compromise and be respectful neighbors of each other, but it does not seem to be working.
Question, sorry. So, if we put no parking there, then the people that don't have a garage, where would they physically park their vehicles? Like, I mean, that's, are those the entrances to their homes? So, we know we have these all over, as you said. So you're gonna put no parking, you think they're gonna obey it? No. So, I don't know.
Well, if we put no parking, you'd have to put it for the whole street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about if we put
Exactly.
no parking between signs at driveway and walkway?
And then we'll have to post it on the other side as well, because then they'll park on this side, because it's not a, it's, the road right away is not very
Yeah.
wide there.
Mm-hmm.
So then they'll park on this side, where then
You can't back
he will
out.
not be able to get in and out of his driveway again, so you'd have to park no parking, put no parking signs on both sides of the road for probably the frontage of the property, which I don't know, I think it's a 90-foot lot. So basically the whole alley, you know, because it's steep going up, then it levels
Yeah.
off, so basically the whole levels.
So is there only, the rest of the people that use that alley, do they park in the alley?
No, they kind of have, well, it dead ends, right? So at the dead end, it's really not, it doesn't affect anybody. Because once you get to the dead end, and John Green's house, for example, he accesses off of 4th, and then the neighbor, she pulls off, so it really doesn't affect the rest of them.
It doesn't?
Except for when they have company and whatnot, then yeah, it will.
Is it,
Ay,
I
ay,
wonder
ay.
if it's worth myself trying to have a discussion before we make a decision to both sides. 'Cause I think I know the proponents quite well.
Work your mayor magic.
Can you give me a brief summary of the discussion? I couldn't hear anything Darren or Tracy said.
Well, staff is
Until
looking for a
midnight.
decision of council whether to post no parking signs or not. If we post no parking signs, then we would have to post it for the entire alley on both sides. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Couldn't we just have no parking on one side of the alley?
No, Darren just explained due to the fact that the alley is very narrow, it wouldn't make a difference.
The road right away is very narrow through there, so if we just post on the one side, then the neighbors will just park on their side of the alley, still blocking in access to his driveway.
Yeah, I think. But do we have a policy about parking in alleys in town at all? Is it allowed everywhere?
It's the same
24
24-hour,
hours.
What was that?
it's the same
Can't park
24-hour
for longer
policy.
than 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
So this is one of those ones that's kind of like the dog thing, yes?
Mhm.
So,
Kick it hard.
we're not actually talking about, I mean, we're using the word blocking in, but my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's not actually blocking in, it's just making it difficult to go in and out. And then it's a tighter fit, but it's physically, technically possible to still drive in and out, right?
I don't, not all the time.
Summertime, no problem. Wintertime, as you know, things get pushed out, right? So,
Do they park, sorry,
Yeah, I mean,
do they park all winter through there?
do they park in the winter in there?
I talked to the operators, and they don't have any issues with parking in that, you know, in that section. Now, you know, because a lot of the people have been up there a long time, they know to move their vehicles.
Right.
But it's not a problem from a maintenance, point of view from plowing anyway.
Okay, so what we're talking about is, does this council wish to post signs? We'd have to post no parking signs in the entire alley or not. Or perhaps you wanna give me a shot at it. I don't know that I'd be successful, but I don't know.
Well,
It's up to council, and I think we should move with this one.
yeah, I think if you could use that as a strategy to resolve it, that would be great. And I guess what I worry about is if we start putting no parking signs in that alley, then how many more alleys with the same situation in our mountain community are we gonna have to deal with, right? Like, people just need to get along and figure it out. That's, you know, how I would say, and I think you should go and maybe chat. And then it can come back to council next meeting.
Okay, just make the motion and, okay, made by,
That's a
motion by,
Motion.
Yeah.
that the mayor speak with the two people involved and see if we can come to a reasonable compromise. Okay?
Yeah.
Second by
Yes.
Councillor Spear. Any further discussion? On that, all in favor? Councillor Moore?
Yep.
Opposed, it's carried. Thank you. Letter to council requesting area parking lot nickel plate for the stage enclosure from Second to Spokane, etc., for a benefit concert for Carol Enns on September 21, 13, 11 to 7 p.m. Is there a mover to that? Moved
So
by
moved.
Councillor Spear, seconded by Councillor Blumey. Discussion, Councillor Spear.
Well, I guess I just, operation-wise, and I'm glad Darren's here to answer, is it a problem with, you know, flow of people from Rotary Park to Arena parking lot to, something else was in there too, and I forget what it was. Do you see that as being a problem with movement of people?
Well, because we do have an alternative up and around Third.
Yeah.
For the apartments and whatnot, with the proper signage and barricading, it shouldn't be an issue.
So traffic flow wouldn't be interrupted or anything?
Of course, there's gonna be a few that are
Right.
slightly
Annoyed?
inconvenienced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, well, I mean, I know Carol personally, and this has been just an awful tragedy, this accident that has happened to her, and she's gonna be in recovery for a long, long time. So I'm certainly in favor of supporting any kind of activity to help her move along with her health.
Thank you. And I think this is the kind of community initiative that Roslyn, makes Roslyn.
Excels at, yeah.
You know, we're all coming together to help this lady, and I think, if we can help the, organizers with this in some small way, then I think it's very important that we do that. Councillor Blumey?
I'd say, of course, unless Mr. Albo had something that he needed to suggest as a change, but,
We'll work out the fine details as it gets closer
Mhm.
with the organizers.
Okay, Councillor Moore, anything to add?
I'm in support of it, I'm just curious, what's the value of the rental of the stage? How much do we usually rent it for?
Your
Just
worship, through to council, it's $120 to rent the stage if you pick it up and return it yourself. If you want the city to deliver it and pick it up, it's an additional $200.
Mm.
Okay, anything further on that? I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? Councillor Moore?
Yep.
Motion's carried. Information items. A motion to accept staff recommendations of the information items subject to the following. Is there a mover to that first of all, the information items? Councillor Blooming, seconded by Councillor Moore.
Sure.
Thank you. Items. Councillor Blooming. Any ones that you want to talk to?
F.
F. Councillor Spear.
I have B and I, but I think I had another one, but
We'll get back
so
to you.
far,
Councillor
yeah.
Moore. Sorry, did you have another?
C, G, and H.
Okay, is that all, Jill? Well, if you
Yeah,
have
for
another-
now, yeah,
All
sorry.
right, B, Councillor Moore.
I gotta go down
Okay, so
below.
this is the bear bin, and I noticed in
That was
there,
it.
we were saying that, Mr. Albo was saying, yes, we give it a trial, and then in the report, said that NCA pays 50% of the purchase and 50% of the ongoing cost for the bin, but I didn't see how much it actually cost. Do we know
Hold
those
it,
figures?
just a sec. Which one are you on?
What is she on?
See?
We were on B.
We were on B.
B.
B for Bob.
Oh, I didn't have B.
Did anyone have B?
Wait a minute, hold on.
Oh, I said B. I said B. Sorry, I'm scrolling back and forth like yeah, I guess I just was curious about this Family Action Network requesting washrooms and comfort stations and all that. Have we gone anywhere with that, or?
They're dealing with the store owners, et cetera.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it hasn't come to us.
There's no action for us, is there on it?
No, it's just
All right, just a letter.
what's going on.
Yeah, good, okay.
And Miss
And
Mooney-
Ann's working on that, looks like, Des Moines.
Miss Mooney is, quite ill. Just so
Oh.
everybody knows.
Mm.
Okay, that was B. C, now you can go to the, bins, Miss Moore.
Okay, the bear bin, so I'm wondering about the cost of them, do we know what they cost, what our 50% for ongoing costs and our 50% purchase would be if we go forward with this?
No, we don't.
Okay, and then my other comment would be, you know, I think, Darren brought up a very important point, that we're not setting them up there for household garbage and furniture and toilets and all the rest of it, and so if we do these bins, and if they're abused, we're not gonna be able to maintain them. So we need to be able to communicate that message to the community, and I'm just wondering, you know, what people think about an idea for doing that.
Well, I
Get out
can,
in the press or something.
I think that we could advertise, we could sign, we could, do a rain dance, and in the morning, you're gonna find something there that shouldn't be there. No, and this has been going on forever, this is, I'm not making it up, I mean, we're finding household garbage in the bins along Main Street, we're finding, household garbage in other communities' bins, so, this is a very, I mean, it's good in principle, but what it turns out to be is frankly a garbage dump, and, I know, Public Works has a bit of an issue with it. Maybe it's possible, but I think, speaking about opening up the door to abuse, this is a prime candidate.
Yeah, I wonder if they could be located in some place where, well, I don't know, some place where they're very visible, where, you know, somebody couldn't get a couch to them, or, you know.
I thought you were volunteering your driveway.
Hair in the face play.
Yeah, my driveway's really hard to get to.
I'm just kidding, but anyway, that's a Public Works issue that we have to.
Yeah.
Counselor Blooming.
Okay, so as you said, Roslyn has a terrible track record with this sort of thing, particularly since the kind of user pay part of the garbage system, fee system came in with the bags and the stickers and whatnot. So I was kind of excited that we have these new garbage bins coming in downtown that, you know, are so cramped in the opening that it wouldn't really be possible to put in household garbage. And I was quite excited about that we would, you know, potentially be getting rid of this issue. And now this is opening it wide open again. And so since, you know, we have the advantage of having several staff members here, I'm just wondering if through your worship, through the staff, I could hear why it is that we've decided to give this a try.
Darren.
It's not that I gave permission that we would try it if I went through all of the issues with them in the past that we've had and continue to have.
Mm-hmm.
And she assured me that it would take zero of Public Works time, as they would do the monitoring and, you know, cameras, whatever it took. So, with that in mind, because the complaints that we do get here are some of the owners in town that come for the weekend and stuff like that, they got nowhere to put their garbage.
Mm.
And they're right, so you stuff it in the garbage can downtown, you know, so I'm looking at other ways to alleviate some of those other issues, with an honest way of people dealing with their garbage. But the track record for Roslyn has proven that it does not work. But with them telling me that it is not gonna put the onus onto us for it, then I mean, why not?
Okay,
But I
but
did not give them permission, I mean, of course, that's council's, you
Yeah.
know.
And this will come, we're not giving permission at this time, it'll come back to council, right?
Yeah, okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not, this is just a discussion on that issue. So Darren is dealing with it, and it'll come back to council for a council decision, but right now we're just,
We're just, once we know the cost
Yeah.
involved,
Right.
then we will come back. At this time, I'm not,
I've never spoken cost.
we have never seen anything about costing.
okay, so we can't make a decision on it, so we're just discussing for information,
All right.
right? And I
Mm.
think that was the staff recommendation.
Yeah, could I?
Yeah?
Yeah, so, you know, yeah, and I appreciate the difficulties around, you know, the abuse of the garbage containers of whatever sort are out there in our community. You know, I wanna protect the bears, that's, you know, big. But I don't wanna create public works issues with garbage, and I almost wish that we could use the approach that we seem to use with Bear Aware, and that's educating the community and continuing to educate the community and about bears. And I think Roslinders are pretty great at respect for the wild animals in our community. And, you know, if Trail wants to go ahead and buy a couple, you know, I'm happy for them. But do we really need that with the garbage cans that we're putting downtown? I get the thing about people that come here for a weekend, where do they put their garbage? It's a really good question. Where do they do that in other communities? Like, could we have a bin at, I don't know, maintenance yard? That's locked up, isn't it? Just
Anyway.
thinking somewhere that's significant.
Anyway,
Yes, we can look further into this.
Yeah, well, we've already.
But, yeah, I just don't want to create a greater garbage issue for Roslyn.
Okay, as mentioned, this will come back to us.
Yeah.
With some costs. Okay, I'm gonna move on to F. Counselor,
That was me.
yeah,
I'm just wanted to say the numbers were fantastic for the winter, and that's just congratulations to everybody associated with Tourism Roslyn and our recreation tourism providers out there. It's just really great, best year ever.
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
F was me, actually, and, those numbers, I mean, that's, just accommodator revenue thing, and we have talked about that before, so it's really awesome that, the winter's changed so much, unfortunately, this summer, as far as our accommodators go. If you talk to accommodators, it's interesting that, you know, I mean, we do have, our summers are growing in interest and enjoyment, and, you know, the trails are wonderful, and I'm extremely happy to live here and use all the amenities that we have in the summertime. And it's bringing in perhaps a lot more people, but if you talk to the accommodators, it's interesting that, they say that their numbers haven't really changed much, and I guess it's proven by this, is that it's, you know, quite close to last year's anyway, or the average rather. And so basically, the summertime crowd that is coming in, they are not staying in hotels. They're basically staying with family or friends, or in the campgrounds, or outside.
Mhm.
So just as a point of interest,
Great.
that out. And then also, I wanted to know if you guys had questions for me on this, as I was at the meeting, referred to in this.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Oh, how, is it members' reports?
Well,
Where are we at? No.
No, we're in information items. Maybe
Are
if you have something you wish to say.
Are you
about the
reporting in
numbers?
members' reports
Yeah.
about Tourism Roslyn, yes?
Referring to this, so I can refer to it then, sure.
Yeah, let's refer to it then, so we get through these. Okay, anything further on that was, FG, Councilor Moore?
Are we on G?
Yeah?
Okay, that's the Green Community Action Award, and I'm just wondering
Mhm.
if that green branding logo that they mentioned in there could be used like on the Tourism Roslyn site and the Chamber of Commerce Vision to Action website as well as the city. Because it's nice, I mean, you know, there's people who are impressed with that recognition. We were awarded level 2 measurement, which is a good thing. And it'd be nice to communicate that out to the community and put it on our website.
We can discuss putting it on our website. The other websites, I think, probably are a bit proprietary, aren't they?
Well, but we could, I'm just saying, we could offer it to them if they wanna be able to,
well.
they talk about our community, right?
Yeah, we can
So
certainly,
if they
we can have our liaisons bring that forward. How's that?
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. Did you get that, liaison? Okay, that was GH.
Mm.
Auditor.
That was
Mhm.
Yeah, that was me too. I thought the, management letters, from Bert Lehman were really interesting. They had, some good, suggestions for improvements, and I noticed that our management response was, pretty much planning to do these things, which is great. And I'm just wondering if we could have that show up on I know we're gonna get the staff task list coming up in the future, and if we could incorporate the 9 suggested improvements contained in the management letter onto that, staff task list, just so we keep an eye on sort of the progress we're making towards those goals. I thought that would be a good thing. Do I need to make a motion to that?
No, we'll see what we can do, because I think we might need some staff input on that as well, and we don't have time to get that right now, but we will do that, we will look at that for sure. How's that?
Okay, so it would be the 9
Yeah.
suggested improvements in the letters, and then also there were a couple of other things, which I won't go into specifics of, in the letters from the citizen inquiry that looked interesting too, just sort of good practices. So I look forward to seeing those things happen.
Thank you. Aye.
Yeah, that was me, and just similar comments to Councillor Moore. I was not here when Berg Lehman presented to council, and I appreciated reading the suggestions for improvement, and I also really appreciated management in here, our management for referring and answering all those questions and clarifying some of the requests from the auditor. So I also look forward to seeing, and I'm sure that those changes will occur, because I just know that from the sense of the responses to the auditor and the very professional nature of our CAOs. So thank you for that, and yeah, that's all I need to say.
Thank you. That's information items, so on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Members' reports, Councillor Spear.
Oh,
You didn't know it was coming, or what?
yeah, I knew it was coming, and I even got it right here, so just give me a second on my computer. It's right here. Wow. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I, before we go any further in my council report, I need, and I don't think we can do it because there won't be a quorum if I go out. I need to request that council, and I don't know, I've got this worded, but what I need council to do, and I know it's the policy was included, was it in our agenda package? Anyway, yes, the policy on travel to conferences for councillors. And in the past, until this year, I never attended the AKBLG conference, but I have gone a few times, not every year, to the UBCM conference. So this is just the background for those councillors. And so this year, I went to the AKBLG conference because we had 2 resolutions, as you know, that were going to the regional conference from Rossland, and I felt that through conversation with some councillors and the mayor that I should probably attend this year. So I did attend, not realizing that the cost to cover replacement worker for me for those 2.5 days would eliminate the opportunity for me to go to the UBCM in September because the way the policy is written. So I am requesting to council, and I don't know, as far as the policy goes, I don't think we need to really change the policy unless we want to go there, but I think we should talk about that as a whole council. I would just like a resolution from council to allow me to attend the UBCM this year and cover the replacement costs of a replacement worker for me in my workplace. And I'd really like to go for 4 days. I always end up going for 3, and the conference is really 5. So I'm going to, in the motion, I have that council approve the attendance of myself for up to 4 days to attend the UBCM in Vancouver, including the costs associated with the replacement worker, which varies. It can go up to $325 a day. And that's because after they're there for 3 days, they go up onto scale, so it's just the way it works. So that's my request, is that council approves the cost of the replacement worker and then the other costs that are normally covered by that in the financial plan.
So you've used 2.5 days, is that what you said?
I used 2.5 days.
So the policy says 5 days?
Yes, it does. So technically I'm asking for an extra 1.5 days above what is in the policy. correct?
So,
Your worship, that is correct, but
Mhm.
plus, Councillor Smear is also asking for an increase to the daily amount, which at this time is 200.
Mhm.
so is that a motion?
Yes, well, yes, but I don't think I can vote on that motion.
I think that's a little bit tricky right now.
Yeah.
Very tricky.
Well, it's tricky because we only have 4 people.
As-
So then she'd have.
But I can't, it's time sensitive unless we get more people at one of the next meetings, because I need to apply to go to the
See,
UBCM.
the other, even if, we decided that you could stay for the Pope, the motion itself
Is,
really,
me giving the motion.
no, but just the success of the motion or the defeat of the motion is really, it really should involve more people, I think.
Fine.
Because-
But how do we do that when
Well-
it's time sensitive? That's all I'm asking. I agree with you.
I mean, well, I won't speak to it because we don't, first of all, because we
We don't have a
second,
motion.
and because if you do make the motion, I think I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
Yeah.
And then we don't have a quorum, and then we're cooked.
Fine.
So that's the first step,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so that's a notice of motion.
Fine, that's fine.
Notice of
Can we
motion.
recess the committee as a whole to discuss it?
Not this evening.
No, because there's not enough votes, anyways.
Yeah, we still, yeah, okay. Yeah, 'cause I had a number of things I wanted to talk about on this issue too, but, I guess we just need to put it off to another meeting. And I'll just send my comments in, 'cause I won't be attending the next meeting, but,
Yeah, well, we
And no, I can't do this here, could we just say, if there's money in if there's sufficient money in the.
Counselor, I gotta interrupt you. Counselor, I'm gonna interrupt you because we don't have a motion.
Mhm.
And if we were to get a motion, like I said, we don't have a quorum,
Motion.
so we really can't discuss it outside of a motion, do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just normal procedure, okay?
Mhm.
Thank you. So, anything else, Jill? That you
Well,
can-
could
you
we,
can give-
could
you-
we perhaps have a little special meeting at some point when there's more
Well,
councillors
We've
available?
got some things happening that we're gonna probably have to have special meetings, and we can make it part of it.
Is that in August?
We're hoping to have
We're
it
hoping, yeah.
on Monday.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
So, that's where we're at, so you can leave that as known as.
That's fine, so that's that, thank you. So the word mark committee, that's Jody, Councillor Blumey rather, Councillor Moore and myself, and Shelley, our graphic designer. We have not met, but she has responded to an email, and she's gonna have something for us this week. And so whether, we get together this week is probably unlikely, so I'm probably suggesting that we'll meet the first week of September, somewhere around there, and then bring it back to council as soon as we can.
Great.
Councillor Blumey, do you have anything to add on that?
What's that?
Or do either of you have anything to add?
No, I'm with you. I wish we'd seen the samples, but not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump to the Neighborhood of Learning Committee. And I had quite a good meeting with Aaron Guy, our coordinator of our committee, to catch up on a number of things, because we've both been kind of busy all summer. So the Seven Summits Learning Center is going to be a educational opportunity or alternative for kids from grades 8 to 12 in Rossland. It's still a few days away, but it looks like it's going to be located physically in the parish hall. They still have to sign that agreement, but it's looking pretty positive. There's anywhere between, depending on what day it is, there's between 20 and 25 students. Some drop, some join, some drop, some join. So between 20 and 25 students who hopefully are going to attend that. That includes local kids, that includes international kids. So that whole model is basically self-design provides the education, and VSS, the Visions for Small School Society, which is a non-profit society, will be providing the board, the place, and those two are going to work together also with the academy. So that's Kirsty Calder, who came to council, if you remember, a while ago. Funding, they get funded from the government, but it goes to self-design, yeah, so right now it's looking around 11 grade 8s, 4 to 5, and this is just rough estimates, but in their grade 9s, a couple of grade 10s, 6 to 7 grade 11s, and a couple of grade 12s, and again, that's a combination of kids from here and hither and dither, as they say. What else do I need to tell you? The VSS had their AGM. A board has been elected or acclaimed, I probably should say. Shelley Ackerman is on the board, and Mary and Leslie, people who you'd be familiar with, and then there's, I think, 3 directors at large, and there's a youth member on that board. So the NOL task force for independent schools has basically dissolved, but the municipal school board kind of task force is still active and working, but we haven't met for a while. That's all I need to tell you. I asked Erin how the funding is going with regards to NOL, and she seemed to think they were halfway through the $15,000. They're going to put out a really significant newsletter in the fall, talking about all the educational opportunities in Rossland, and all the content from all the educational choices in town. And I asked her how many solid number of volunteers do we still have on that committee, and we have 12 people who continually are the solid core of that group, and we're all continue to support the mandate of providing K-12 education in Rossland. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I can. Golden City Days parade attendance, that's going to be before our next meeting, is that correct?
I think our next meeting is the...
Oh, no, it's right before that.
It's the 9th.
Oh,
Isn't
the
it?
Tuesday after, isn't it?
Is it the
Or
9th?
Monday after, huh? When's
Go ahead.
Anyway, are we going in Golden City Days?
Well,
And
that's
what will it look like?
Part of the discussion right now.
Okay, good.
I'll wait till you're finished.
Okay.
So I have a list myself.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention, I asked staff if they could have a look at this Louis Joe Trail, where it's really overgrown, which is between Carrie Fisher's house, interestingly enough, and the Rubberhead connection. Now, I saw some weed eating down into the little pond area at the creek, but that's not where I'm talking about. So if staff could address that, that would be great.
Is that trail ours to maintain, or is that CUNY Trail Society?
That's ours, I think. It's urban. Oh, well, that's a good question.
I'm not sure.
So do you think they went back down there, but they didn't get the right spot?
Yeah, because it looks like it's right above, from the other side down to the creek.
Yeah, I know where you mean.
Right?
Yeah, I know exactly where you mean.
Where it's not even part of it's part of the trail system where they went.
Anyway, that can,
You know what I
we
mean? Where it
can
goes
mention
deep
that.
down the creek.
We can mention that, and if it's
Yep,
ours,
you
I'm
bet.
sure we can get at it.
You bet. I guess I just really hoping the street furniture is going to be here soon. I know that Darren's probably disappointed that it's taken longer, but council did hold that up.
Exactly.
And so that's going to be really nice when all the street furniture's out, and we're going to have a long fall, so we'll all be able to enjoy it. And I think that's all I have on my...
Great. I'm gonna, well, I'll just say something, then I'll go to you.
Can I just say one thing about SC? Kathy Moore has attended the last couple of Sustainability Commission meetings, so thank you to Councillor Moore, and she can probably report on it.
We have the minutes, but...
We do have the minutes.
We just approved the recommendations in the minutes as well.
That's right.
I just you spoke of the Louis Joe,
Yeah.
yesterday I was golfing on number 17, I looked down, that lake down there?
Yeah.
The little pond thing, not the pond of the golf course, the one below the Louis.
Yeah.
There was 2 cubs and a mother bear playing in the water there swimming.
Oh.
It was amazing.
Guess that's good I wasn't down there with my dog swimming them.
Oh, I thought, never mind. Councillor Blumey, how's that for a segue? Bears to...
That's a better story than what I've got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so who went? It was our mayor, our CAO, CFO, myself, and a couple of members of the task force, the broadband task force.
Speak up a little bit.
Boom that voice. Put that thing beside
I
you.
don't have a booming voice.
I know you don't.
But you got long arms, that's...
Okay, so, the mayor, the CAO, CFO, and myself, and 2 members of the broadband task force, so being Amber Hayes and Bride Fry. We went to a meeting in Castlegar, sort of a regional meeting, I guess, put on by CBBC, which is the Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation, at the CBT building, and there was a consultant kind of famous in the way of broadband, and it was a meeting just sort of to touch base with the different communities, you know, being Caslow, Nelson, us, Castlegar, who else was represented? I feel like there was,
Caslow?
yeah, Caslow was quite a bit, and some kind of private investors, I guess corporate investors will say. Who else? At any rate, it was a regional meeting, and so we all met basically to figure out where we're all standing and just to ask more questions as a group and get, I don't know, get involved in moving the idea forward and getting deeper into understanding how it would roll out. And so, anyway, after this meeting, we had this one specific to Roslyn and Mark Halwa, who is the CEO of CBBC and our IT specialist at City Hall, you know, our contractor, and yeah, everybody else from Roslyn. We had a meeting, and basically one of the things that came from that meeting was that perhaps it would be a good idea to have a bit of a town hall meeting at some point regarding broadband and the CBBC, you know, particularly the CBBC project itself and our potential involvement with it. And you know, the plan right now is basically that there would be a committee of the whole on September 9th, and that would give council a chance to, you know, there would be a report put to council. Council would ask questions that come from that information and make sure that everything's ironed out. There'll be representatives of the task force as well as Mark Halwa here to answer everything and to inform, and there'll be a bit of presentation on that too, just to explain the different options being, you know, presented. And then the actual decision itself, you know, according to schedule, would be for that decision, or request for a decision to come to council on September 24th. And so, anyway, I'm just wondering if there is appetite for a town hall where there would be a bit of a presentation, maybe a PowerPoint to the community, to anybody who's interested, and then it put on by the task force, and then the task force would be present to ask questions of attendees from the community, and any councillors who are interested in attending as well to be there to answer for, you know, the council aspect of things. So anyway, is there appetite around this table to have something like that? And I would imagine in between the 2 dates, maybe where council is, you know, apprised of the situation in detail, and before council makes a decision, it makes sense to me, but you can let me know what you think.
Well, I don't see the harm in doing and having a meeting to communicate to the community, and in the format that you said. It sounds, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it because I'm just kind of, you know, I'm learning as through you and task force and all of that. But if you know, if the city is going to be involved with this initiative, then yeah, we should be accountable and present the information and make sure everyone is clear and well aware of the information and the opportunity to ask questions. I think it's great.
I think we pretty much have to do that because this is going to require buy-in.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. It isn't a...
I think it's a great
It's not a done
idea.
deal.
Okay, so there you go.
So, okay, that being said, should we set a date right now so that we can start trickling the, you know, save the date out into the community? So, because otherwise our next official council meeting September 9th, I think, right?
Mhm.
And that would just be potentially, you know, depending on when we said it, I mean, potentially a week or two, or, I mean, that's only 2 weeks before the decision, so it would have to be within that very small window. So it makes sense to me, if you're okay with it, that, I don't know, can we try to set a date tonight? And I would suggest maybe Monday, because we're all kind of used to holding Mondays free.
Are you suggesting the town hall meeting before we meet with Holwa?
The town hall meeting, I would suggest doing it after we meet
Yeah.
with Holwa as
So-
a COW, because then council really knows what we're
Exactly.
doing.
So
you know?
when is that Holwa meeting?
That's September 9th.
Right, if
So-
I could, your worship, I think what she's saying is we're gonna schedule a
Oh.
committee of the whole for the ninth,
Yeah.
but she would like to have a date for the public.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So,
Okay, that's
between the 9th and the 23rd, is what you're saying.
Right, so,
The 16th is the Monday, your worship.
Yes.
Excuse me, just a question, 23rd, which being our next council meeting, which will require a decision from us?
Yes.
Your worship, the 16th is also UBCM week.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's early this year.
Don't forget the UBCM.
Yeah.
So,
In the box.
how about-
In the box.
if we have
Yeah.
to work, could I maybe put forward a motion that we do hold a town hall, and we'll just work on, you know, with staff and amongst ourselves to come up with a
Well,
potential
if the
date, we'll
meeting's
leave that open?
yeah, if the meeting's on the 9th, let's have it that week,
Yeah, exactly. So,
right?
should we,
So that's
Yeah.
a Monday, so have it on the
You wanna go more
Wednesday or
specific than that,
something. Wednesday the 11th or Thursday.
The 11th, don't go the 11th, I've got other things, and it's not
12.
golf.
12. Yeah, right, 12.
The 11th is no good.
Well,
Well, I don't need to be there anyway, I don't need to be there, I mean, I've
Yeah.
banded this around for 100 years, so, yeah, go ahead.
If I could suggest, the task force is gonna be hosting the
Yeah, it
meeting.
doesn't have to be.
So
but-
if the task force works out a date that works for them, as long
Yes.
as Councillor Blumey is there.
Yeah.
Then any member of council who's available could definitely.
yeah, okay, that's a good point.
That
Okay,
sounds
let's do it
good.
that way, you happy?
What was that point?
The point was that ultimately, it's more important that specific people of the task force be able to attend, and then after that, basically, any counselor who's available or who would want to attend could attend. And so maybe it's more important that we ask the task force which day that week is or which evening that week is available to them.
Yes, so, we'll do that.
Mark Holwa involved in the community meeting?
We'll give him the option, but he will definitely be involved in the COW and on the 9th, and so that would be of utmost importance, and then it would kind of be a perk if he's able to be there for afterwards.
Because I was gonna say, if he was gonna try and be there, then maybe you'd wanna just try and schedule it for the 10th. But I agree to get the task force people to
Yeah.
pick the date.
Okay,
Okay, and then as
Not
far
the
as
date here.
location, something free, is here big enough, do you think? This would
No.
probably work, right?
No.
Minus all.
Minus all.
at least the minor salt,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't, no.
Yeah.
okay.
Minus
So
all would
would
be
this be
good.
part of the motion then?
I
That-
don't think you need a motion, I think we just
No?
do it.
Oh, okay.
You've
Your
got
worship, I would just
consensus.
say to Councillor Blumey that once you have a date, please
Yeah.
confirm it with recreation before you.
Okay.
Yeah.
To hold a town hall
Okay.
meeting at 9
And
o'clock.
Alright,
if
so
we
is
gotta
any of
spend
this
$100
required?
no.
Does any of this
No.
require a motion? No?
No.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Alright, thank you.
Done?
That part done. Next being, what was the next?
Tourism.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything. Oh, yes, I do, thank you. Okay. Tourism related. Tourism Roslyn, I guess through your worship to staff, did we get that, what do you call it, splash page, you know, the mock splash page up on the internet with a notice, and has there been any pursuit of our input on that yet? Do we?
Your
need to
worship,
do
I've
anything?
heard nothing from Tourism Russell on this subject.
Okay, all right.
We,
An issue.
they have, when's their meeting?
It'll be mid-end of August.
Okay, we'll discuss that in a minute too. Okay,
We should have
anyone?
some holiday dates down on something at the end.
Yeah.
Done?
August.
I'm done now, yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Can I ask a question then?
Oh, Counselor Blumey,
Yes.
please.
Did the, whoever comes and figures out whether we're 2% or 1% on the, has that happened?
No, it hasn't,
Okay.
I mean, unless it's happened and nobody came
Supposed to be
yet.
like around this time or something.
It's not been announced to the board yet, anyway.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
Councilor Moore.
Okay, I've got a couple things. The FC minutes were there. If anybody had any questions, you can ask me about it. I also went to the LCCDT meeting that was July 18th. The guest was Don Thompson, who was the chair of the LCIC. And he was just talking about, you know, wanting to go forward, maintaining some sort of economic development office and service, but basically understanding that, you know, what we have is too expensive, so they're looking to restructure and, you know, think differently, and actually they see it as a really positive thing, going forward, that they can make some changes and you know, deliver services, less expensively. I had kind of a lot of notes on that, but I think I'll mostly skip it. Yeah, okay. I wanted to comment on the Open for Business Awards application, and good job to Chamber of Commerce and Zero Roslyn staff for that. I hope we win. I think they were going for customer service training, which would be great for local business. I had a suggestion on our planning sessions that we're talking about for the service level, facilities, and community support. I'd love to see us open it up to include a couple of community members on each of those committees, because it is planning, and it would be great to do that. I'm just wondering if that would be possible, or I can make a motion and see if council supports that idea.
I think you should look for council support.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we open our planning committees up to a couple of citizen participants, just a couple on each one, the service level, facilities, and community support. I'm not sure if those are what they're actually called, but you know, the committees that we talked about at the last meeting.
I'm gonna ask that you hold off on this motion, because quite frankly, we need a whole bunch more information than just a motion that says we're gonna put 2 people on a committee. And we need some more counselors here, because I have reservations, not that, it's a bad thing, but who chooses the people? No, there's way too much here to just make a simple motion like that, and I would ask that you defer it.
We could make the motion, and then after that, we figure out how we're gonna do it. I'm just trying to get the concept out there to see if there's appetite to get some public input on the actual committee, working groups, and then we can figure out how we do it. We can do it any way anybody wants, but the first thing is just to decide whether we're interested in getting a little bit more, you know, public input in the planning stages.
Planning stages for council, I mean, I think you have the concept out there. If you wish to make a motion right now to that effect, and it were not to pass, then what would happen? Right? That would be gone forever. If we can do it in a more timely manner with more council input, I think it would be better, and it might support your motion better than what may be supported right now.
Well, and hopefully somebody else could make the motion, because I'll be available for the next couple of council meetings. But yeah, I just think, you know, I think it's an opportunity for us to. We always say we want public input in our financial plan, and we do this thing where we invite people to come, and people tend not to come. Partly not just because they're not interested, but partly because the format's not very satisfying. And I think the new planning process that staff was talking about, you know, would be an opportunity for us to get a little more, what's the word? I don't know, meaningful input from people who are interested. You know, we've had really good luck with committees in the past. So.
Okay, I hear what you're trying to do. Ms. Arnott would like to speak to it, please.
Right, I'd like to recommend that you talk about this at your very initial meeting, because.
Cecilia, I can't hear you, sorry.
If I could remind council that actually Councillor Fisher suggested something like that during the 5-year plan, and I think that this is something that you should discuss at your first meeting. What do these committees look like? Because if you're going to have people from the community on your committees, we need to ensure that those people have some level of expertise to deal with this.
Councillor Blooming,
we've talked about public input on this process, and I'm looking forward to that aspect. I really think that around this table there is a lot of emphasis on that aspect, and we are going to do a good job of that. I'm not concerned about, you know, anybody who is interested in being a part of the process. I do strongly believe will have the chance to, you know, give some input, right, in sort of a regular kind of public input kind of way. But you're really, I think there's a bit of a fine line when you're involving, you know, elected body is bringing in unelected people to be part of a decision-making process that is, you know, within the subjects that are generally just taken care of by the elected body, right? Yeah, I think there's a dangerous fine line there that perhaps is not appropriate.
Okay, I think Ms. Arnott said it, that would be the discussion we would have at the beginning of the planning session. I don't believe that's a discussion for this evening. Anything more?
I'm sorry, Greg, I didn't hear what you said.
Ms. Arnott explained that the best time for that may be at the beginning of our planning session, and I personally do not believe that this is the time or the place to discuss that. And we can do that in our, at our planning session, and that's the time to do
I
it.
appreciate your comments on that for sure. I just hope that, you know, if somebody will bring it up, because like I say, I won't be there to do it. In comment to what Councillor Blumey has just said, I mean, we involve citizens in lots of things that we do, and these planning committees are just, they're committees, they're going to bring recommendations to council. Council is one that'll make that. But I'm good with holding off, because I see there probably isn't support for it now anyway, and as you say, I don't want the idea to die a sad death, you know, here, so I'll drop it.
It might be a happy death.
Might be a happy death.
Anyway, anything else? I'd like to get out of here sometime tonight.
I do. I have a couple other things. We had that email from Mr. Stuart Terhune about traffic planning for RSS, and he brought up some serious concerns. He offered some suggestions, and I'm just wondering if anything happened with that, because I know there's also some concerns about the pickup and drop off for RSS on the other side of the school. So it looks like there's a whole kind of traffic configuration issue, and particularly now that we've got the little kids coming to RSS, and I'm just wondering what planning the city's done or is planning to do. Well, I guess we should be doing it now since school's going to start. So can we get an update on that from staff?
Staff, Darren's not here at the moment, he left, and staff are dealing with the school board and some ways that we can deal with that and improve that if it's necessary. And it's not on the agenda right now, it's that we don't have a report.
Oh, no, I was just commenting on the emails that were there.
Well, we have nothing to report at this time, Councillor.
Okay, because we did have something in the July 19th information package, so I'm concerned that here we are in August that it may not make it to an agenda, but maybe it will. Is it going to be on an agenda?
Well, staff is dealing with it now, Councillor. I mean,
okay.
I can't speak any more to that. Councillor Spearn, you want to comment?
Well, yeah, I just, Councillor Moore, I just want to comment that, you know, really the school board and the staff at RSS, in conjunction with the city, have been having this conversation for some time. And that email is valid, absolutely, but there's no question that the parking and the traffic flow around RSS is going to look different and be addressed before the first day of school.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear it. I just hadn't seen anything that sounded like it was being addressed, right? I saw letters, you know.
Okay, Councillor.
Stuff.
It's going to be.
It's being addressed. That's the best we can say.
Okay, that's good. And then that brings me to the other traffic thing, our favorite Thompson thing. And I'm wondering if maybe we had that motion saying that we were going to discuss the purchase of a speed reader for our financial plan, but I don't actually think we ever really discussed it. And then I'm thinking maybe we should buy one because we could use it on Washington around the school, and we could use it down on Thompson. So we've got a couple of places, and I realized that not many speeders were caught when the speed reader was in effect. But that's also because people naturally slow down when they see a speed reader, and they slow down particularly when they see a person with a clipboard. So I don't think it necessarily means that there isn't a problem. plus the letter in our July 26th info packet from Ms. Nightingale and Mr. Ramsey, you know, they offered a bunch of good suggestions, and I'm just wondering if it might be worth our while just to strike a committee of maybe some counselors and some local people, maybe a staff member to sort of look at some of those suggestions and see if there is something we could do down there.
This is a staff issue, and staff is dealing with it as well. The RCMP have been dealing with it, and I expect a staff report that will include what the Well, I don't know that. I would expect, though, that it is a staff issue, and we're trying to deal with it. I mean, we're not, if you think we're gonna put in, I don't know, no posts to make people drive around a 90-degree curve, it's not gonna happen.
No.
If you think we're gonna put up stop signs or four-way stops, it's probably not gonna happen. So, if you say they made some good suggestions, I say they made some suggestions that may not be feasible. So, it's in the hands of staff right now. And Ms. Butler wishes to speak to that.
Your worship, actually it's not in the hands of staff at this time. He came at a public input session. There has not been a resolution from council for us to put any more time into this.
Okay.
I would tell you that the report that we produced in, I believe it was 2011, would probably read exactly the same as it would today.
So, we have not made a resolution to ask staff to proceed, so I'm been rightfully corrected. So, Mr. Savard came at a public input period, and we have not gone further than that.
Okay, well, then I'd like to make a motion that we request staff to work with local residents to address speeding and safety concerns on Thompson. How's that?
That's pretty vague. I could say that staff are doing that. Staff do that.
Well, let's make it less vague. Let's say we strike a committee of staff and local residents to address safety concerns and bring a report to council.
Would you like to chair the committee?
Sure, but I won't be there, right? I can do it in October, but
Well, then perhaps the motion should be made in October when it's your,
No, I think the motion should be...
Well, make it now then.
Now.
Make it.
Excuse me?
Make it.
I just did.
What was it? Sorry, I didn't get it. Did you get it?
That a committee of staff and local residents be struck to address speeding and safety concerns on Thompson and bring a report to council.
Seconder?
Well, I'll second that. Oh, this is like the dog. This goes around in circles.
Well, this is another circle, and it's...
Yeah, so she made the motion, so she should talk first, I suppose. Or does she need to talk more?
Well, wait a second. We're saying it's a circle, but we haven't actually... I mean, we've heard people come and complain, but we haven't actually done anything.
Yeah,
we have a report in 2011 that pulled out what the problem was, and there was no problem in the staff report in 2011. Ms. Butler just said if that report came to council now, it would be exactly the same report.
Well, you know what? I appreciate the staff report, and I know a lot of it was based on the speed reading thing from the RCMP, but my point that I just made was that people always slow down when they come to those speed things, and people with clipboards. I mean, I think you've got all those people on Thompson that see that there's a problem. I actually believe them. I think there is a problem, whether the speed board says so or not. And I feel like, we ought to do something.
Okay, you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, Councillor Moore, you suggested the speed reader thing, but then you said people slow down when they come to speed readers, and it's exactly accurate. They do, including myself, slow down at the speed readers. And I don't think it's accurate that staff hasn't addressed some of these concerns, because we've talked about the speed bumps again, we've talked about reverse speed bumps, we've talked about stop signs, meter, or the speed reader boards. We've talked about a number of things, and a lot of it has to do with operations, and basically, you're darned if you do and darned if you don't, to be polite, because you put in the speed bumps and half of the people want them taken out, so it's a conundrum. But in my mind, the RCMP are the ones that need to do the job on Thompson Avenue, and they have been, because I've actually seen them. And honestly, yes, people drive, I guess some people drive fast down there, but I live adjacent to that street, and I guess I maybe just don't see it as much as others. But I don't know what the answer is, but you know what, the time's not right, you're gonna be away, so I think that you should just maybe suggest that at a later date.
The motion is now council's.
Yeah, council.
Yeah, the motion doesn't have anything to do with me, right? I mean, if it ended up getting put off until I came back, if I was, you know, if my presence was required, which I'm happy to be involved in it, then it could be October. It doesn't matter about that. I just feel like we keep going around and there are some suggestions they made there that we haven't tried. I mean, they even had a different suggestion about the speed bumps that said they could be placed in a different way. I just think something could be done, right?
Okay, Councillor, I think in all candidness, the people that speed on Thompson Avenue aren't from Mars. There are people that live in that area that drive down that road. You can't tell me that we can't figure out who the guys are that are speeding down there by somebody taking a license number. You can't tell me. If people wish to solve this perceived problem, it's pretty damn simple to me. We're not talking about tourists from Alberta. We're talking about people that drive down in the, like said in the memo I read, in the green pickup truck, or the little girl in the red Toyota truck. Those are the people. Those are the people we have to be dealing with.
People. So what are you going to do with those people? I mean, you can't, if I take...
Those are the people that are speeding, okay? Those are the people that are speeding. We've been around this block a million times. If you wish to, well, you have a motion on the floor right now, and I'm going to call the question. On the motion to form a committee, all in favor?
I'm interested in your suggestion.
All in favor? Opposed?
Greg, hold on a second.
No. This is not on the agenda. This has taken 20 minutes of our time. We've been around this block 7 times. Your motion is to form a committee, and that motion was just defeated. That's simple.
Let me just ask a question. If someone writes down a license plate, what does that do? You can't do, what are you going to do, a citizen's arrest or something? What do you, I mean, I just don't understand.
You could phone the RCMP, and the RCMP will say, do you wish to press charges?
And what are you going to do? How could I prove that the girl in the red pickup truck was speeding on my say-so? I mean, that's not a solution.
It can be done, Councillor. I'm not discussing the motion's died. Anything further in members' reports?
Yeah, I do have one more thing. I thought that staff had started a procedure for the regular release of in-camera minutes and of stuff that no longer needed to be confidential, but we haven't sort of seen anything released recently. It doesn't really look like there's kind of an ongoing procedure.
Okay, I'll get you an answer. I got a hand up. Go ahead.
Your Worship, to the Council, that would require an amendment to our procedures bylaw, and we haven't brought that forward yet.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
It requires a change to the procedure bylaw, and that hasn't been brought forward yet.
Really? To release no. I mean, okay, so right now, the only way in-camera stuff is being released is if councilors make a motion or if staff happens to bring it up. Is that right?
No, I'm going to try and get an explanation. Please speak loud enough so I don't have to paraphrase it.
Just go over there. Please.
From what I understand, what you're saying is that you're looking for a procedure to release information, and we already have that procedure. When we want to release information, we bring that forward on an agenda. But to make sure that it is on every single agenda, then we have to amend the procedures bylaw. The procedures bylaw outlines what is on each agenda.
Okay.
And that's what we have to do. As far as bringing things forward now, we release them as we need to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess I take a little different approach. It seems like we should be releasing things because we are a public entity and we do the public business, and usually we'd be doing it in public, that the default should be that once something is no longer needs to be confidential, that it could be classified
But
from
that's-
confidential to non-confidential
It
as
has
sort
to
of
be
a
done
link
at-
and released to the public.
It has to be done at a meeting.
Oh, yeah, of course it has to be done in
Well,
a meeting.
that's what we're doing. That's what we do.
Yeah, okay, well, but we don't, because we haven't released anything in quite a while, and there's plenty of stuff in camera that doesn't need to be in camera anymore, right? The issue's passed, or whatever it is. And if we're to be, you know, a public body, we
Yeah,
should
please,
be public.
I wonder why.
down, up,
Just a
down.
minute, here comes another,
If I could speak to that, your worship, staff has been very diligent, and we, as much as possible, bring the in-camera stuff that needs to be, that we feel needs to be released to in-camera meetings. If Councillor Moore suggests that we're missing some, that we've been a little behind, then perhaps Councillor Moore should inquire to the mayor that we add an in-camera meeting for September 9th for our next meeting, and itemize which items should be brought forward to in-camera to be released. Because if they haven't been released and should have been, it's only because we've missed it, because we've been very diligent about doing that.
okay, thank you very much. Anything further, Councillor Moore?
No.
Thank you. Golden City Days Parade,
Yeah,
you gonna be around?
I'm always around the Golden
You're gonna
City
be around?
Days.
Okay, I'll try and figure something out for the parade, I'll get hold of you for that. Posse, they want, I talked to Mikey Williams, they want me to be the mayor to be the sheriff that goes around and finds everybody that doesn't have a Golden City Days badge on, and they're gonna build a jail. So then they're gonna charge $2, and it's just a way to generate some income for Golden City Days, so I'm gonna do that. And I'd like to have maybe a couple of deputies with me, so, okay?
I always wanted to be a deputy.
I
got a hat.
You got her.
I got a hat.
Okay, all right, so I'll be in contact with you.
Deputy dog.
So, on another note, Councillor Thatcher has indicated that he is having trouble time-wise getting to Tourism Roslin meetings, so I will be attending Tourism Roslin meetings as a liaison.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I meet with Mr. Greg Bellin. We had some discussion earlier regarding trail expansion, and Mr. Bellin, if you know, is the
He's
general
the
manager of
tech,
Tech,
yeah.
Trail Operations.
Yes.
And he wishes to have a chat, so I'm doing that tomorrow. Yeah. And then, well, we'll see where it goes, I'm not sure.
Could I ask you a question?
Huh?
This goes way back when you say you're gonna have a chat with Mr. Bellin. You know, we lost the museum trail, correct? On our, in the fencing and all of that, and that has, and I haven't brought this up for a long time, and that trail was an intricate part of our trail system, and to this day, we have still not remedied, Tech has not remedied with the city in any way how we could have a connectivity to our trail system that was pretty vital to a system, that's all I'm saying. So could you have that conversation with him?
Yeah, and I'll say quickly as well that whole mountainside
Yeah.
is very suspect at the moment.
Yes.
And Tech is very aware that the trail, people who use the trail, they're very aware of that. However, their priority right at the moment is to ensure that safety. So that's where they're at right now, but I will mention it to Mr. Bell.
So along with the safety, you know, that mountain's been, you know, stoped and all of that for, well, over 100 years. And so, I guess I'm just seeing, you know, it almost seems to me like there's this alarmist kind of approach, and it's Tech's business to do that, obviously it's their land. But it never used to be like that, right? And these god-awful fences are all the way all around the mountain, and, you know, it's an eyesore. I'll be honest, I'm out there a lot, and I have people say to me, what's with that? And, you know, it takes away from the forest experience and all of that. So, I just get this feeling that there's this kind of, I don't want to say overreaction, but, you know, a really high level of reaction to that mountain, and it never used to be that way, that's all I'm saying. And this is in tandem with closing the mine and all the, you know, the work that's been done since that. So I just want to make sure that they don't forget that trail is important, an integral part.
One of my goals is to make sure that they don't forget Roslin, period.
Good job, thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Yahoo. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to ask, Darren,
What?
we're adjourned, so,
Oh.
we're seal coating. We should maybe get it in
Okay.
Thursday's paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when is
I'll
that?
talk to him, I'll talk to Darren tomorrow. 'cause I
Okay,
got
'cause
back, so I don't know
Seal
when
coating,
that's
Tim, you know, they put the oil down and the sand on it. I think they're gonna do it Sunday night, so it won't affect people too much, but it'd be nice if we had a little blurb in the paper. Darren, well, Cecile will talk to Darren tomorrow, and
Just
maybe
for a press
Cecile, you
release.
can give, if you got time tomorrow to give Tim a call, or I'll give you a call when I come in the morning.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
And the other thing, just so you know, I don't know if there was anything in your paper, but the repairs on the asphalt, they were warranty. It was all, it was warranty work, didn't cost anything.
I can add that as a sidebar.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And
People were
what's
asking.
going on, sorry, Tim, over in the sidewalk outside of the beer and wine store, the cool beer and wine
Oh,
store?
he's pouring more, it's him.
It's him, the owner?
Yeah.
Oh, so it doesn't have to do with our sidewalk?
No.
It's just out the front of their business there?
Yeah, they're pretty.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Okay,
They've enabled.
Yeah, it's them doing it.
okay, all right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Good night. Warren, you made it through a whole meeting, what's with that?
Yeah, well done, you guys. Very patient. I don't think I can pull it off.
I didn't think you
Yeah.
did.
9 PM, that's gotta be a record. Is that a record?
Okay.
Oh, we started at 6.
How about this idea?
No wonder I'm hungry, I'm gonna go and eat for a while, it's only 9.
Because Darren said one of those boards cost $7,000. And then what if we?
Oh my God, are you dieting because you're getting married? What are you wearing?